A young banker is killed, and his spirit has to save his girlfriend from the same fate. Join us as we chat about Demi Moore's haircuts, the difference between the Righteous Brothers and the Smothers Brothers, and washing your hands after making pottery but before making love. Then we find out if Ghost stands the test of time.
Test of time, James and Alan have their say. Do the movies you love still hold up today? James says gladiator with a glut. Alan says as a father, blah blah. It's the test of time, James and Alan have their say. Do the movies you love still hold up today? Test of time, James and Alan have their say. Do the movies you love still hold up today?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Test of Time. My name is Alan Noah, and the Oda Mae Brown to my Sam Wheat is you, James Brief.
I'll take it. I'll take that one. That's pretty funny.
I mean, I could have said you're my Carl. That would have been, really dark.
That means I'm going to murder you and try to get it on with your wife?
Well, you're going to betray me and have me killed.
Right. I didn't mean for you to get killed. I was just trying to, rob you to help a drug cartel. What? I mean, things happen,
Right.
But yes, I'm glad. I'm happier to be Oda Mae Brown, the former con artist, and now with the con artist with a heart of gold.
Exactly. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
I had seen this film, Ghost, more than once. I know you said at the end of last week you had never seen this film.
Yeah. I'd never seen it. I mean, I've heard of it. I knew all about the pottery scene. But yeah, I just never got around to watching it. And yeah, I saw it was the 35th anniversary. That's as good of an excuse as I need. So for anyone who, like me, hasn't seen the movie, it's about a banker named Sam Wheat and his girlfriend, artist Molly Jensen. They move into a loft in Soho, and they're seemingly at the beginning of a beautiful life together. But all that changes when, during a mugging, Sam is shot and killed. His spirit lingers on Earth, desperate not to leave Molly. Sam soon discovers that his death was no accident. He was set up by his best friend Carl, who was after Sam's bank passwords. Carl then targets Molly, so Sam turns to a reluctant medium named Oda Mae Brown. Through Oda Mae, Sam is able to speak with Molly, stop Carl from stealing millions, get revenge on his killer, and say goodbye to his beloved. Now, I don't need to ask you if this was a big hit, because I know this was a huge smash hit when it first came out in 1990, right?
Oh, yeah. The film had a great release date right in the middle of summer. At July 13th, 1990 was its release date. Had a very modest budget, $22 million. And it opened at number 2 with $12 million. And it spent the next 10 weekends at either number 1 or number 2. And then it stayed, top 5 for a while after that. It ended up with $217 million domestically, almost 10 times its budget, and a little over $500 million worldwide. I mean, this was a smash hit. And it's almost like you almost don't want to tell people who this film is directed by because it'll bias them about what they're going to think about the film. Did you know about this? Were you surprised, or did you just see it in the credits?
No, I knew. I knew it was directed by Jerry Zucker. I feel like it maybe has come up before.
It has.
One of our conversations. Jerry Zucker is one of the ZAZ guys, Zucker, Abrams, Zucker, best known for Kentucky Fried Movie and Airplane, Top Secret. Sorry, I pronounced it wrong. Top Secret, the Naked Gun movies. He is 1/3 of this comedy triumvirate, and here he is making a movie that is not a comedy. It does have some funny moments, mainly from Whoopi Goldberg, which you would expect. It's not just 2+ hours of grieving and sadness, but this was something that was out of Jerry Zucker's wheelhouse. And, it is kind of funny, just reading some of the trivia about it, where at first he was dead set against hiring Patrick Swayze. He didn't want Mr. Roadhouse to be the star of his movie. He did not want Whoopi Goldberg to be Oda Mae Brown. With the benefit of hindsight, those instincts were wrong. But, you could also give him credit that he changed his mind. He turned around, he came around to see the light, because it is hard to imagine this movie without Patrick Swayze and Whoopi Goldberg.
Oh, absolutely. They're both fantastic in it. Demi Moore is very good in the film as well. It's funny how impactful Demi Moore's hair has been through Hollywood. This film, I think she had that short hair, and she had cut it from, which she was famous for, from St. Elmo's Fire. And I think she absolutely pulls it off. She's beautiful in this film.
Sure.
G.I. Jane, of course, she famously shaved off her head.
Was that it? Were there any other famous hairstyle switches that she's done over the years? I can't think of any others. In The Substance, she just has long hair. Which, I mean, she looks beautiful, but the hairstyle is nothing particularly notable.
Well, I'm also thinking of more her body. She very famously posed naked on, I think it was Vanity Fair or Vogue.
It was Vanity Fair,
Vanity
yes.
Fair when she was pregnant with, maybe it was Rumor Willis, but one of her children with
remember.
Bruce Willis. But
Yeah.
and then she very famously did a movie, Striptease, and she was very famously, she's going to take the taboo off of sexuality and something. It wasn't a big movie at the end. There's one more actor that's in this film who's always fantastic in everything he's in. That's Tony Goldwyn. He plays Carl. Are you familiar with him?
I know him from Hacks, and I know he was on Scandal, the TV show that a lot of people loved, but I never watched. I didn't like him in this movie. I think if you were to rank the acting in this movie, from like the main stars, Whoopi Goldberg's at the top, then probably Demi Moore, then Patrick Swayze. Tony Goldwyn, I would call a distant fourth. I also think, though, that it's not all of his fault. I think the character is not particularly interesting to me, but I do feel like his acting looks worse in comparison to the other actors that he's with, just because I think they're firing on all cylinders.
Okay, that's fine. I will agree that he's also with some really, really great actors there, but I think he holds his own in this film. I think he's very good in this film. I actually think the other guy that plays Willie Lopez, Rick Avalez, I think he's very good in this film. And also Vincent Schiavelli. He's the crazy ghost in the subway.
Yeah.
He has a fantastic scene.
2 scenes.
Yeah, he has 2 scenes. But yeah, great supporting cast here.
While we're talking about the acting, I think Demi Moore is phenomenal in this movie, and she really conveys a lot of sadness. I couldn't help but think that I wanted to see more of her character. And apparently, when the movie was written, it was written by a man named Bruce Joel Rubin. He talked about how he wanted to do a ghost story from the ghost's point of view. He was like inspired by Hamlet. But I think that's a really interesting idea. And I think it works for most of the movie that we get a lot of Sam's perspective and what it's like being dead and, his interactions with Oda Mae Brown. That's all great. It is a huge part of the movie, and I love it. I couldn't help but think, though, that they really just don't give Demi Moore as Molly much to do. She's just sad. And of course she's sad because she lost her beloved boyfriend. She's grieving. The 5 steps of grief. There's more to it than just being sad. And I feel like they kind of gave her the short end of the stick. And I just wanted to see more of her. Her going to the store, her going to work, just the struggle of her everyday life. I feel like that's compelling. There's that one moment where she has the penny in the jar and she rolls it down the stairs and it shatters. That's really powerful.
That's a great scene. Yeah.
It's great, but it's also 7 seconds. You go very long stretches in the movie with no Molly at all.
You're right. There's one little scene where she's trying to make a clay pot by herself and she just lets it fall apart. Usually it will be from Molly's point of view. It's either a ghost haunting you or helping you, and the ghost is going to help Molly solve the murder. But no, it's actually here. The ghost is trying to solve the murder and using other people to help him solve it. So I agree, that maybe they could have put a little bit more in, but I think in that silent scene where she's just rolling a penny, the penny for luck, and then she rolls it down the stairs, it shatters. She doesn't move at all. You can tell that scene's over. She probably sits there for another 5 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, and she just stares at the door. I think it's a very powerful scene. Maybe they could have done a little more, but it's not really supposed to be about Molly. It's supposed to be about the ghost grieving, and I've never really thought of that. I always thought it was the ghost either trying to come back to haunt or to physically help someone, but the ghosts grieving themselves, I thought that was a very interesting take.
Yes, you do see Sam mourning his life now that he is no longer alive. And look, there have been a million movies exploring grief from the perspective of the person who's left behind. I just think there's so much to explore there that the movie could have spent more time exploring that, especially considering that the movie spends so much time on the money laundering plot with Carl, and Carl working with Willie Lopez, and how Sam is going to figure out what Carl did and how he did it and how he's going to get the money back and all of that. To me, honestly, so much of that is just so goddamn boring. It's not interesting. It's not compelling. Look, money laundering can be interesting. I loved every second of Ozark. That's a TV show, I think it was 4 seasons, all about the complicated dynamics of being a money launderer. But in this movie, it's just not interesting to me. And I think part of it is that right from the get-go, immediately, I knew that Carl was the bad guy. I'm curious to get your perspective when you first saw the movie, if you had that realization, because the way the movie kind of plays it, it seems like it was supposed to be something of a twist, of a reveal that it wasn't an accidental death. It was a murder. Carl set the whole thing up. Dun dun dun. But I saw that coming a mile away. Did you?
It's too long ago for me to remember if I'd seen it. But
Fair.
I saw it with my girlfriend who had never seen it before, and the only problem is in a mystery like this, I think they needed to maybe introduce a couple more characters.
Yeah, Carl's the only other guy.
Right, there was only on one other person, so she didn't immediately suspect it was him. But then she asked, "Oh, does he have something to do with it?" Not because it was something suspicious, but because he's going over to the guy's house and everything, and there was just something of like, why is he doing that? And I just think maybe it wasn't set up as well as it could have been set up. You know what it could have been? Like, Shoei's a really good friend in the beginning, because he honestly maybe really is a good friend that did a horrible mistake with the drug dealers. But, you know, Shoei, like, he did this thing and he's going to hell for it and he's blah, blah, blah. But at least give it like, no, it couldn't be him.
Yeah, well, in the beginning of the movie, when they're, smashing apart the loft, it's Sam and Molly and Carl. He's the third wheel, which, just because I've seen a lot of movies, I immediately think he's the bad guy just because he's there. But then he's saying that they should just flip the loft, and he really likes that Ferrari that's parked out front. He's very clearly focused on money, and then, hey, we have too much money in this account. And then Carl says, I'll look into that for you. And Sam says, no, I got it. And then Carl says, hey, what are you and Molly doing tonight? Oh, we're going to see a play. Oh, okay, good to know. The way he kind of just grabs like that shoebox and he's like, oh, I'll take all this stuff. And then Molly comes, oh, wait, no, you're not supposed to take this shoebox. And he goes, oh, oops. It's all so clear before the quote unquote twist that, yeah, this is the guy. He's the fucking guy. And I think, kind of to your point, I think if we had seen more of Carl's background, maybe why he's doing these things, what made him betray his best friend, whether he intended for Sam to get killed or not, he betrayed him.
Right.
Was there jealousy over Molly? Maybe he asked Molly out and she said, no, I just like you as a friend, but hey, the three of us can all be friends while I'm with Sam. And maybe there was some long simmering resentment, because then we do see later on that Carl makes his move on Molly. It felt to me like Carl was just sort of this, almost like a Mad Libs of, you're going to put together all of the things of the bad guy. He's greedy, check. He's probably addicted to coke. They never say that, but he looks like he's like a coke-addled dude in a lot of scenes. Check. He's lustful. He's going after his friend's girl. Check. But he just doesn't feel like a real fully fleshed out character. He just feels like a two-dimensional generic bad guy.
That's fair. And there should have been, maybe pictures of them through college, or at least some kind of like, these guys have been like bros for years. And this is going to be such a betrayal, not just some guy he works with at the bank. But there's a couple scenes I want to ask you about that are pretty either famous or that I really just want to hear your perspective on.
Okay.
One, the pottery scene. The Smothers Brothers song, Unchained Melody, plays in this scene.
The who brothers? The Smothers Brothers?
Sorry. The Righteous Brothers.
Yes.
The Righteous Brothers.
You got your brothers mixed up.
Sorry. The Smothers Brothers, what were they, like some vaudeville comedy group?
Yeah, they were like a variety show.
All right, yeah. But anyway, yeah, they play this song a lot in this movie. But I think it's meant to be the theme song of the movie, which it is. It's basically the score of the whole film. What do you think just of the pottery scene in the beginning? Sam's alive, it's young love.
The scene is very, very sexy. It is meant to be sexy. It's almost kind of funny just how phallic the pottery is. But it works as a sexy scene. I couldn't help but think, though, that the fact that it is so timed to Unchained Melody kind of hurts it, because the record comes on, she starts with the pottery, then Sam comes over, they start working on the pottery together, they start kissing, and then it cuts to them in bed together. Then they finish having sex, the record ends. Also, though, in between that cut, they had to clean up because their hands are covered in clay, and then you see them in bed and their hands are perfectly clean. I know you're not supposed to think about this. I know this is me being me, but I'm imagining them at the sink. Are there two sinks? Is he in the kitchen and she's in the bathroom? Because you got to scrub. You don't want to be, doing sexy naked body stuff with all that clay under your fingernails. And then, like, all of this takes place during one song. So it implies that the sex was very, very brief.
That is hysterical. I really am legitimately laughing. I don't think the entire thing is legitimately supposed to be over the single Smothers Brothers. Even though
Righteous Brothers.
Actually, oh God, I keep doing it. Yeah, fuck it. Maybe the Smothers Brothers did this song.
No, they did not.
Maybe the Smuckers Brothers did it as for the Jam people.
That's not a thing.
But either way, yes, I know that they show the record playing, and I know they show the record playing at the end. I don't think it's literally supposed to be one song playing, but it is really funny that you show it.
Maybe that just proves how hot the pottery making was. Like, that foreplay was so fucking sexy that even when they had to stop and scrub, then they started having sex, and he just finished immediately.
Fair. There's a few more scenes I want to ask you about. Next is the subway scene with the scary man played by Vincent Schiavelli. I believe he has passed away since.
Yes.
He plays a ghost that seems to just haunt the subways, where I guess he was pushed or maybe he jumped. It's unclear.
No, he was pushed. He says he was pushed.
Well, it's unclear because he's completely insane. Perhaps the man is schizophrenic and was pushed by the voices in his head. Maybe. I mean, it's unclear. Or at least that's how I took it. I think it's very possible he was pushed, but I think it's also very possible he's just absolutely insane. And his insanity is able to make him cross this border that he's able to interact with the world and actually physically interact with objects.
I mean, I thought it was interesting because the way that the movie shows Sam interacting with the physical world, it is inconsistent. And while I was watching the movie, I thought that I was just doing more of the thing that I do, like with the pottery scene. Like, I'm overanalyzing because Sam tries to touch things and he can't. And he tries to touch people and he can't. And they walk through him. But then when he's at the hospital and they see that other person die and he's talking with that other ghost, he's sitting in a chair. And I was thinking, wait a second, he shouldn't be able to sit in a chair. If he can't interact with physical objects, he would go through the chair. But also, he's standing on a floor. And in the loft, we see him go up the stairs. So how can he go upstairs? So I thought that it was just kind of inconsistent movie logic, things you're not supposed to think about, but that I noticed because I'm a weirdo. But then when we get to this guy in the subway, he explicitly calls that out. He says, if you're standing on the ground, then you're interacting with the physical world. You're just not thinking about that. And when you want to touch this or pick up that, then you do need to really focus and concentrate and use your anger and your rage and yada, yada, yada. So I like that. I liked that the movie took some time in explaining how this stuff works. I think that the movie does a little bit of a disservice later on in the climax when Sam is just able to do anything and touch anything and move anything, where it becomes almost like a cheat. You know, he doesn't kill Carl directly. Carl swings the giant hook, and then it swings back and breaks the glass, and it impales him. But at that point, it seemed like Sam could have picked up a gun and fired it, or picked up a knife and stabbed Carl, because once you have cracked that code of focus your rage, you can kind of do anything, and that seems wrong. That seems like that shouldn't be the rule.
I agree that once you get that power, you are overpowered in this universe.
Yeah.
And that's also why the writers write in that when you take over a body, you get weakened.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing that they're able to put in. That's why Molly and Otome have to escape on their own for the first few minutes of the Carl chase at the climax. But I agree with you, once Sam is back to full power, there really was nothing that he couldn't do.
Yeah.
But luckily, basically the moment Sam gets his full powers back, Carl dies.
Yeah.
They do give the audience a little bit of that catharsis because you really hate this scumbag Carl, and let him get his ass kicked for a minute or two by Patrick fucking Swayze. There's also that catharsis that no one in history has ever been able to come back and kick their own murderer's ass, and let him have a punch or two, but then quickly get it over with. I'm glad it didn't go on for any longer than it did.
Because you mentioned ghosts are weakened when they inhabit somebody's body. Before the big final confrontation with Carl, Sam inhabits Otome's body. To me, it's a cheat that he inhabits her body, but we see Patrick Swayze holding Demi Moore and not Whoopi Goldberg. The way that it would be is what we see in the earlier scene when that other ghost goes into Otome's body and takes her over, and we see Whoopi Goldberg acting as this other person because this other spirit has taken over her body.
Right.
So the same rules should apply a few scenes later.
How is it inconsistent?
Because now Sam is taking over Otome's body, and we're seeing Sam and not Otome.
Oh, we're seeing... Oh, okay. But at first, we don't see it. I mean, first we just see a Whoopi Goldberg's eyes open and stand up and then walk over towards an eyes closed Demi Moore. We see that feminine hands on feminine hands. Then the Righteous Brothers song starts. And then you see it, Sam. The word you use is cheat. I would say it's an assist.
I think what you're saying is it's to help the audience understand that this is Molly dancing with Sam and not dancing with Otome. I don't think the audience needs that assist. This is pretty damn late in the movie.
I agree they don't need that.
So then, if you're following that logic through, the assist for the audience is, hey guys, don't worry, we won't make you watch two women dancing, that it's a white woman and a black woman. You could have the moment be the moment with it being Whoopi Goldberg. And maybe, look, this is just, it's 1990. It was a different time. People were still more uncomfortable with gay characters and lesbians and interracial relationships. And maybe in a way, you could argue that Jerry Zucker was right. Maybe if he had Whoopi Goldberg filmed that scene with Demi Moore, that would have been the only thing people would have talked about, and it would have been a huge controversy, and maybe it would have hurt the box office. I don't know. But watching it now, it felt like a cop-out, and it felt like a cheat to me.
I'm going to go on the other side, where I'm going to say that in 1990, he was giving as much as he could, as much as was allowed in this kind of film. And I also agree with you that from a 2025 perspective, they did not need to show that extra scene with Patrick Swayze standing with Demi Moore in that scene. He didn't need to come to work that day.
It's also a cheat in that when somebody dies, they are gone. And it's permanent. And in movies, when somebody dies, you can sometimes have this kind of thing where the ghost speaks to you through this other person, where you get this dance, where you get this closure, where you get this goodbye. And I'm not saying that movies shouldn't do this sort of thing. I understand why screenwriters and directors tell these kinds of stories, because it's wish fulfillment. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I think it sort of weakens the premise of this woman's grieving journey, which I guess counterpoint is that she doesn't really have a grieving journey. Like I was saying before, that is just such a minimal focus on the movie. And then because she does have that scene later on after Carl dies, when she is able to see Sam as himself, as Patrick Swayze, they're able to converse with each other without Oda Mae, and they have that goodbye. He says, "I love you," and she says, "Ditto." That's really powerful. So I also just feel like the power of that scene kind of negates the dancing scene. It is still that cheat of, it's a movie, you're still going to get that one last goodbye that you were robbed of, that no one in real life gets, because it's a movie, so fine, shrug, whatever.
The last scene, Demi Moore's tear is very well done, in my opinion. I think that last scene is really nice. I think it's just I just really like that scene when he just says, "Molly, the love you have, you take it with you."
Do you know one thing about Demi Moore's crying?
What?
Not only can Demi Moore cry on command, which is a thing that actors can do, she can cry from each eye on command.
Wow.
She can control, all right, I will make a tear come from my left eye and now the right eye. That's what I read online. I don't know if that's really true, but fuck, if that's true, that's amazing.
I think you might have mentioned that from St. Elmo's Fire, possibly. But the last scene I want to ask you about, it's my favorite scene in the film, the bank scene. This is the scene where Oda Mae dresses in this ridiculous pink outfit, because this is to her what someone needs to dress to go into a bank. She is trying to play this woman, Rita Miller. That's where the money was. That's the fraudulent account. And at one point, Patrick Swayze has to bump her chair, and she just has to go, "Oh, I have gas. It's just gas." And it's just such a Whoopi Goldberg way that made me laugh. There's a scene afterwards, I guess it's still part of the same scene, where she has to give away the money to these nuns, and she's holding on to it like she's incredibly constipated at the same time trying to hold on to this check. I think it's just a purely delightful scene, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's funny. And the movie really does, at least in the second half, really rest on the chemistry between Sam and Oda Mae. And they have really good chemistry. The bank scene does have some funny moments. I do think it also drags on, just as they're walking in and dealing with the first teller, and then they have to go upstairs to the second teller, and this conversation with the security guard. It goes on and on and on. To me, it felt like Jerry Zucker was saying, okay, this is the funny stuff. This is where I'm in my comfort zone. So I'm just going to go, and I'm going to have fun, and I'm going to do funny stuff. And he does it well. He's got Whoopi Goldberg, who is really, really great at this kind of thing. So yeah, they milk it. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think part of it is not what's in the scene, but kind of the thought process behind it, which, again, me being the overanalyzer, I was thinking, what is Sam's plan here? Because the whole thing is she's trying to get the money away from Carl. He put $4 million into this account, which also, just by the way, how fucking suspicious is it that he's stealing $4 million exactly? Not 4,107,613.22 cents, but it's exactly 4 million. Eye roll. But what is his end game? He wants to take the money from Carl. Then what? Then what is Carl gonna do? Carl is gonna go back to Molly, of course. So he's putting Molly in harm's way, which it seems obvious if he would think about it. Maybe he's not thinking about it. Maybe he's just making it up as he goes along. But I just felt like the A to B to C of it all had me confused, and it seemed like it wasn't thought out. That kind of frustrated me.
You're absolutely right. Sam says a line to Otome when she's like, "Oh, I'm going to spend it on this and this and this," and Sam goes, "No, your only way to be safe is to get rid of the money."
Yeah, he's wrong. Getting rid of the money puts a bigger target on her back.
And the fact of the matter is, he could have just helped Molly out. I know it's drug money, but like, it's like, look, if you want to help your wife, like, split it with this woman. Give Otome Brown, $2 million for helping you, and give your wife $2 million to just get away from it all. I'm just saying, there's no reason to have given the $4 million away, except it just sounds good in a 1990 way.
I guess it's also kind of funny when Otome gives the check to Nuns, because then a couple years later she's going to be in Sister Act. So LOL, Whoopi Goldberg interacting with nuns. Also, when he's haunting Carl, like in the office, he's fucking with him for fun.
Yeah.
Because, hey, this is his friend who betrayed him, who got him killed. Okay. He calls him murderer. And then he says, who's doing this? And then he types in the computer, Sam. Again, really fucking stupid. Because what's Carl going to do? He's going to go to Molly. He's going to threaten her.
Stupid.
He's going to say, I'm going to kill her unless you give me the money. And, look, I can believe that Sam, who was a banker, doesn't know how to thwart a drug-addled money launderer. He's never thought about that.
It's his first time being a ghost.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't have all of the answers, and he's making mistakes, and that's okay. But it just seems like he's being not just stupid, but reckless with Molly. Because then when they go to Willie Lopez's apartment and Sam is pursuing Carl and Willie, and then they split up, Sam goes after Willie, and he gets revenge on Willie first. Willie dies first. And you can understand why Sam would have a grudge against Willie. Willie's the guy who shot him. But Carl is the one who explicitly threatened to kill Molly within, I don't know, an hour, half an hour, however long it is. Yeah, you got to go after him first. Because if your goal is to protect Molly, Willie Lopez is not going after Molly, at least not right away. You want to go after him and get him to run into traffic to avenge your death? Cool, go for it. But that really should be secondary. Sam's actions in this kind of action part of the movie, I was like, he is doing everything wrong, and not in a way of, oh, his heart's in the right place, but he didn't think strategically kind of a way. He's just being a fucking idiot, and he's putting Molly in serious danger.
That's true. I'm not saying I wouldn't have made those same mistakes. Now, having watched Ghost, I'll be a better ghost if the opportunity ever comes. But the last thing I want to ask you about in this film are the special effects. The very end heaven, to me, I guess purposely is vague, maybe because you don't want to have a very, very concrete view of what heaven is supposed to be for living people. I personally thought that was fine. What did you think of the very last scene of heaven?
All of the heaven and hell stuff looks cheesy and bad. Honestly, not even just that, but even when Sam is interacting with things and he puts his hand through something or somebody walks through him, it just looks like really, really shitty green screen. It is distracting. And yes, it's a little unfair to say that, technology has advanced in these 35 years. CGI has come a long way. But it almost looks like, those videos you used to make in the mall where you would stand in front of actually, I think it was a blue screen then. It wasn't even a green screen. And then they would, put you in front of a now you're surfing or whatever.
Yeah.
It looks hokey and pixelated and grainy and shitty. The light at the end, yeah, it's vague, so I guess it's okay. The demons who come and pull people down to hell, they're laughably bad.
They're pretty bad. That's straight animation, right? That's not computer animation. It looks like
Maybe, yeah.
They're putting cells on top of it. They probably did the best they could, but probably no. I think they probably could have done a little better with the bad guys. All right, this is the first time you've seen it. 1990's Ghost. What do you think, Al? Does it stand the test of time?
So I had a lot of problems with the movie. I think that the movie spends a lot of time on the wrong things, or at least the things that I'm less interested in, personally. I think you can still do the thing of telling a story from the ghost's point of view, from his perspective, and have him try to solve his own murder and still spend more time with Molly and still see how she's grieving and how she's trying to carry on with her life in a way that would be more interesting to me. I'm not really going to get into specifics here, but one of my oldest friends recently lost his wife. And so it was impossible for me to watch this movie and not think about him and what he's going through. And so maybe that is impacting all of this and all of what I'm saying. But I do just feel like the grieving process, there's so much that we could have gotten from Molly's perspective that we don't get because we're spending so much time trying to figure out who the drug dealer is and how the money got from the drug dealer and how Carl's going to get it to this other account. And I just don't give a shit. To me, that's not interesting. I don't think it's particularly well constructed in the movie in terms of the mystery and the revenge plot. It's just kind of eye-roll worthy to me. But talking about this movie from a test of time perspective, there is a lot in here that is absolutely iconic. You know about the pottery scene, even if you didn't see the movie. I knew about it, and I'd never seen the movie. Unchained Melody is a song that has definitely stood the test of time. I was making fun of you for the Righteous Brothers thing. You know, it's not actually originally a Righteous Brothers song. They covered it. It came out in 65, the Righteous Brothers version, and then, you know, topped the charts 25 years later because of this movie. Also, kind of funny, random thing with the Righteous Brothers, this is just a few years after Top Gun, where they sing You've Lost That Love and Feeling, which was another huge hit for the Righteous Brothers. So they had like this, you know, weird kind of comeback in the late 80s into 1990 because of movies. So cool, good for them. Also, speaking of music, referring to leaving, to going away, to disappearing, to say that in rap, you say, I'm Swayze, meaning I'm a ghost. I think Notorious B.I.G. is credited as really making that popular. I think that the movie has become such an iconic part of pop culture that, yeah, it definitely stands the test of time. I have problems with it. I don't think it's amazing, quite frankly. I think maybe it has an elevated status in pop culture that maybe doesn't totally match its quality. But I do think that at the end of the day, Whoopi Goldberg's amazing. Demi Moore's amazing, if tragically underused. Patrick Swayze is great. And yeah, the movie has so much stuff in it that has stood the test of time that, yes, the movie itself does stand the test of time. What do you think, James?
I agree with you, Al. The film has a lot of slower parts I did not remember, and I think every part of that has to do with the theft and the drug lords and all that stuff. It's needed because you need it for the plot, but I feel like it could have been done a little better, a little more interesting, or just quicker, maybe. I guess just more interesting, because you're right, Ozark, money laundering could be very interesting.
Yeah.
I think that might be its flaw there. The pottery scene is a fantastic, very sexy. Demi Moore with the penny, that scene is great. Even small things I noted. I really like there was a scene in the beginning. They're trying to load this statue into the apartment, And what does Sam do? He kicks it out so that it swings in. I'm like, that's very smart. And he's a smart guy who also makes some dumb decisions. Jerry Zucker, congratulations to studio that greenlit a comedy guy to do this. But overall, I think this film does stand the test of time. And R.I.P. Patrick Swayze. I kind of wonder what kind of roles he would have gotten in his years had he been healthy.
It's interesting you say that, knowing that Patrick Swayze died so young and he left behind this wife who really loved him and they seemed like they had this amazing marriage. Watching the movie, I was kind of thinking about him and him dying young and the wife he left behind. It does add a bittersweet layer to the movie. Obviously not the intentions of the filmmakers, but yeah, just, life imitating art in a very sad way. But that's going to do it for us this week. Come back next week when we talk about D.A.R.Y.L. I'm guessing people know it as Daryl.
Yes, that is correct. That is the correct way to pronounce that film. It stars the kid from Neverending Story, Barrett Oliver.
Oh, okay, great. Until then, we want to hear from you. We are at Test of Time Pod on Facebook, X, Instagram, and Threads. Write to us. Tell us your thoughts on Ghost, on Patrick Swayze, on Whoopi Goldberg, on that pottery scene. You can also email us at testoftimepodcast@gmail.com. Make sure you're subscribed on whatever app you listen to us on so you never miss an episode. And we'll see you next time, everybody.
Bye.